Mentioned in previous videos that the morality of the Christian God is simply morality by fiat, by divine fiat, and that morality is whatever God says it is. God frequently disobeys his own commandments and disregards them, and most Christians don't care because they believe that God has the right to do whatever he wants and that all things he does is good by definition. But they would go on to say that the only way morality even works at all as a concept is if there's such a thing as absolute morality, a objective morality that is anchored by an all-powerful God. That's ridiculous. And they would tell me as an atheist, well, your morals are arbitrary and relative. And if everybody gets to say whatever's right is whatever they say is right, then right could be killing babies and so forth. That's ridiculous. Although evolution has ingrained in me instincts towards what we think of as moral behaviors, it also has pressured us towards some selfish behaviors that some would consider immoral. Now, it goes without saying that God is completely immoral, amoral even. Well, thou shalt not kill. God is the supporter, orderer, perpetrator, and arbiter of much genocide. I mean, all you need to read is 1st and 2nd Samuel, some Exodus, a little bit of even Genesis, just death, 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 death everywhere. God steals plenty of property from people and gives it to his chosen people, the Israelites, except for, well, God owns the whole planet, so whoever owns anything is whatever God says. Again, morality and rule by might, by fiat. Whatever God says is moral, which is, of course, exactly what Christians accuse atheists of behaving by. But the thing is, I'm not a moral nihilist, nor am I what a Christian would call a moral relativist. I am what's called a consequentialist. My morality is defined by the consequences of my actions. And when we're speaking in real terms and not nebulous bullshit strawman terms, the fact of the matter is, if I kill somebody, it's more than likely that the state will kill me or take away the rest of my life and imprison me. It should be stated that I have no desire to kill anybody. In the words of the great Penn Jillette, I have killed all of the people that I intend to, which is none. Now, if we're going to talk about some sort of sociopath or psychopath who is perfectly fine with killing people or perhaps even enjoys it, first of all, the consequences of his actions is he's ruining people's lives and ending people's lives, and those people don't want their lives ended, nor does the serial killer want his own life ended. He's just not making the connection there that there is a social contract. There's also the fact that he will be found and executed more than likely. Also, there is the fact that for us to have the society in which we flourish in as social creatures, there must be a social contract, and it forms naturally because we are human creatures. There's slum towns out in Las Vegas where people live completely absent of government and they rule themselves and they don't kill each other. They drive thieves out of their town. They have rules, they have a library, they have bathrooms, they have running water. They have a trade system, they accept money, and they don't freak out and stab strangers and eat them. People just don't do that, by and large. That's just a fact. And if people want to live with each other and accept the luxuries that it has from from cooperation, it naturally has to be that people who do not practice reciprocity, who do not conform to the agreed upon, even if unspoken, social rules, they will simply be chased out. It will simply be forced out. Morality comes naturally to people. Now, if there's a pinnacle of morality, a pinnacle of natural cooperation, then Western society has quite possibly neared it. The problem with people who believe in objective morality is that they have these concepts of perfection that are simply entirely not based in reality. There will always be moral gray areas, and there will always be situations that would call for one to kill, even call for one to steal, call for one to seize property, and so forth, in order to protect the greater good of the society. Because, let's face it, morality does not come truly on a person-to-person basis. It is manifested on a person-to-person basis, but morality is societal in nature and comes from what is completely necessary to form a functional society, and that morality is consequentialist. This is why governments must impose laws and punishments for breaking them, or else society simply will not function. And there are ways to determine whether or not those rules are for good reasons and whether or not those punishments are just. But just is a relative term. It was the Mayans that had, at the time of the arrival of Hernan Cortez, the Spanish conquistador who caused the fall of their empire, they had the most advanced city in the world. They had running water, they had a very functional religion that caused massacres of thousands of people, but they believed that was good. And I don't think it's unfair for me to say, even with under my own authority, whatever that means, that it wasn't right for them to be killing so many people. Now, keep in mind, it's not necessarily completely amoral. For instance, all those people that they sacrificed to the sun god were usually slaves and conquered people. They usually did not kill their own. However, they had a largely crimeless city, because the punishment for virtually any offense was death. They'll just send you in with the slaves up to the top of the Tower of the Sun. But they had rules, and those rules caused them to flourish. Now, their barbarism and conquering ways also caused some amount of flourishing, but thus is another story. Tribal natures and warring peoples and all that is a story for another day. The point is, morality isn't perfect, just like no person is perfect, and just like no concept is perfect, no law is perfect. Absolute / red perfect morality does not exist. It cannot exist, because morality is consequential in nature, and absolutist maxims are absurd. They don't function. They could be ideals, but they do not function. And they most certainly do not come from the Christian God, period. If the Bible is true, which it's not, but if it's true, God is a mass murdering psychopath who personally kills millions and orders the deaths of millions and aids in war, in infanticide and abortion. He causes mass plagues, famine. He steals, he robs, he destroys, he kills. And just because he said, oh, by the way, thou shalt not kill, which in context means thou shalt not kill your other fellow Israelites, that means nothing about who else you are totally allowed to kill, because you are the chosen people and they are less than human because they are not the chosen people, and so forth. It is ridiculous on multiple levels, the idea that God is the source of morality and that God is in any way moral at all. This being the Christian God, and in truth the Jewish God and the Islamic God. But in practice, in principle, at a fundamental level, the idea of the absolute morality that has come down from God and is written on your heart or whatever, not true. Does not conform to reality, does not represent reality, does not make predictions of the behaviors of people. There are several Christian states, like Texas, have very high murder rates, very high death penalty rates, very high teen pregnancy, instances of premarital sex that results in babies out of wedlock, you name it, and disease, poverty. Very un-Christian places like Missouri and Texas, in large swaths of my home state of Florida. So there you have it. It was a little bit of a ramble, but it's important for you to know that absolutist, objective, perfect morality doesn't exist, can't be obtained, and is not the way any society on earth functions or has ever functioned. Have a good day.